I trusted my best friend until I found out she was sleeping with my husband. You know that person you trust more than anyone else? That friend who knows all your secrets, who was by your side during your worst moments. What if I told you that same person was destroying your life behind your back? My name is Mary, and for years I was living in a marriage I thought was perfect until I found out my best friend was sleeping with my husband. And the worst part, she was my maid of honor. Look, I spent years married to a man who said he loved me. He gave me flowers, gifts, never forgot important dates, our wedding anniversary, our first kiss, the day we met, everything. I truly believed I had found the love of my life. But life has a way of surprising us in ways we could never imagine, and sometimes betrayal comes from the people we least expect. One small detail I noticed brought a betrayal to the surface, one that had been happening right under my nose. And when I finally found out everything, I didn't cry, I didn't scream. No, I planned something much better.
So if you like stories, shocking reveals, and a little bit of revenge, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and leave a like if this video helps you, because this story will leave you speechless. It all started about 8 months ago. My husband, Daniel, and I had been together for almost 10 years. 10 years! We met in college, started dating, got engaged, got married. It was that fairy tale story everyone dreams about. And Katerina, my best friend since high school, was always there. She was my maid of honor, she helped me choose my wedding dress, she planned my bachelorette party. We had been inseparable since we were 15 years old. Katerina knew every detail of my life. She knew when I was sad, when I was happy, my fears, my dreams, and I trusted her blindly. Never, not for a second, did it cross my mind that she could betray me. Never. Daniel worked a lot. He was a sales manager at a big company, so there were always meetings, business trips, dinners with clients. I never suspected anything. Why would I? He was always affectionate and attentive. He'd come home tired, but he always kissed me, always asked about my day. But then strange things started happening, little things that on their own didn't mean much. But when you put them all together, they start to form a very clear picture. First, he started spending more time on his phone. Nothing too obvious, but I noticed he smiled at the screen in a different way. Sometimes he'd leave the room to take calls. When I asked who it was, he said it was work. Okay, no problem. Then he started taking better care of himself. New colognes, nicer clothes. At first, I even liked it. I thought, good for him, he's taking care of himself. God, I was so stupid. And Katerina? Well, she started acting strange too. She had always been very present in my life, but suddenly she was around even more. She came over almost every day, always asking about Daniel, our routine, his schedule. At the time, I thought she was just being a good friend, looking out for me. Yeah, life really does fool you. The first time I truly felt suspicious was on a Thursday night. Daniel said he was working late, an important meeting with out-of-town clients. Katerina called me saying she missed me and wanted to go out for a glass of wine. I agreed right away. We went to a little bar near my house, talked, laughed. It was a great night. Katerina left early, around 8. I stayed a bit longer at the small plaza across the street since it was busy and safe. But when I got home around 11, Daniel's car was in the driveway. That was strange, because he had said he'd only get home really late. I walked in, and there he was, on the couch, watching TV, already in pajamas. "Love, you're home early," I said. He jumped, like really jumped. His face turned red. He stuttered a bit. "Oh, yeah, the meeting ended earlier than I expected." Okay, no big deal, right? Wrong, because when I went to the bedroom, I noticed the shower was still wet. He had taken a shower, and there were 2 wet towels. Why would someone use 2 towels? He never did. That's when I started paying closer attention. A few days later, while cleaning the car, I found an earring. A small, delicate pearl earring. It wasn't mine. I never wear pearl earrings.
When I showed it to him, he said it must belong to a client he gave a ride to. It made sense, but still, I couldn't get it out of my head. Then, a week later, something happened that really set off alarms. I was scrolling through social media when I saw a photo Katerina had posted on Instagram. She was at a fancy Japanese restaurant on the other side of the city. The caption said, "Dining alone because that's single life." But here's the thing, I knew that restaurant. It was Daniel's favorite. He always said he wanted to take me there, but we never went because it was expensive. That same day, Daniel told me he was going out to dinner with an important client at a Japanese restaurant. That's when the ground fell out from under me. I tried to convince myself it was just a coincidence. Big city, lots of Japanese restaurants, right? But the photo, she was sitting at a table for two, and in the background, blurry, you could see a man from behind. He was wearing a blue shirt. Daniel had left the house wearing a blue shirt. My heart started racing. My hands were shaking. I needed proof. I needed to be sure before making any accusations. So I started investigating. I paid attention to everything. Daniel's schedule, his calls, his messages. I didn't go through his phone because I didn't have the password, but I watched. And I watched Katerina too. And you know what I noticed? Their schedules matched. Every time Daniel said he had a meeting or an appointment, Katerina was busy too. Whenever he traveled for work, she disappeared from social media. One day, I decided to test them. I told Daniel I was going to spend the weekend visiting my mom in another city. He was totally relaxed about it, said he'd use the time to rest, watch some games, stay home. But I didn't travel. I took an Uber to a hotel near my house and stayed there. And on Saturday night, I went back. I drove past my street, and Katerina's car was parked in front of my house. My best friend's car in front of my house on a Saturday night while my husband thought I was out of town. I parked a few houses away and waited, just watching. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I was going to have a heart attack. 2 hours later, Katerina came out of my house. She was dressed up, her hair was messy, and she had that smile, the smile of someone who had just done something very wrong. That's when everything became clear. My husband was cheating on me with my best friend, the person I trusted most in the world besides him. I could have walked in that night. I could have made a scene, screamed, cried, hit them. But I didn't. Because I realized something. If I did that, they would end up together. They would play the victims of the crazy wife. They'd say they fell in love, that they couldn't help it, that love conquers all. No, I wasn't going to give them that satisfaction. So I went back to the hotel and started planning. I stayed up all night, thinking, organizing every detail. I was going to destroy them both, but in a way they would never forget. First, I needed solid proof, so I hired a private investigator. It wasn't cheap, but it was worth every penny. In 2 weeks, I had photos, videos, messages, everything. They met in hotels, at the apartment Katerina shared with a coworker who was never there when they met, obviously, and even in my own house when I was at work. The messages were disgusting. Daniel said I was boring, that our marriage had been dead for years, that he only stayed with me out of convenience. Katerina laughed, said I was naive, that I'd never suspect anything because I trusted her too much. They made jokes about me, about how stupid I was, about how easy it was to fool me. It broke me into 1,000 pieces, but it also gave me the strength I needed to move forward. With all the evidence in hand, I moved on to phase 2. First, I went to a lawyer, a good one. I explained everything, showed him the proof, and he prepared the divorce papers perfectly. Since we shared assets, the house, the car, investments, he guided me on how to make sure I wouldn't be left with nothing.
Second, I opened a new bank account and started transferring money from our joint account. Not all of it, that would be illegal, but 50% of everything. That was my right. Third, and this was the cherry on top, I created a plan to expose them in the worst possible way. Katerina was engaged. Yes, engaged. She had a fiancé, a really nice guy who worked as an engineer. They were getting married in 6 months. The poor guy had no idea his fiancé was having an affair with her best friend's husband. And Daniel had a big promotion coming up. He was competing for a director position at the company. It was his dream. I was going to destroy everything for both of them. I organized a dinner. I invited Katerina, her fiancé, some close friends, and a few of Daniel's coworkers, including his boss. I said it was to celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary. Everyone accepted. Katerina and Daniel tried to cancel, but I insisted so much that they couldn't back out without raising suspicion. On the night of the dinner, the house looked beautiful. I decorated everything, cooked an amazing meal, put on soft music. Everyone was there, talking, laughing, drinking wine. Daniel was nervous. Katerina, too, but they were there. After dinner, I asked for everyone's attention. I said I wanted to make a special toast. Everyone raised their glasses. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. 10 years of marriage is a long time, and I have so much to be grateful for, especially you two, I said, looking straight at Daniel and Katerina. They turned pale. Daniel, my love, you've been such a wonderful husband, always so attentive, so present, and Katerina, my best friend, you've always been by my side, through good times and bad. I grabbed my purse and connected it to the TV. So I'd like to share with you some very special moments that I've kept with so much care. And I pressed play. The photos started appearing on the screen. Daniel and Katerina kissing, walking into hotels together. Katerina leaving my house that Saturday night, their messages popping up, one by one. The silence in the room was deafening. Katerina's fiancé stood up, completely shocked. Daniel's boss turned red with anger. Our friends were speechless. Well, they didn't expect this, did they? I said, smiling. Katerina started crying, trying to explain herself. Daniel tried to turn off the TV, but I had the password. Her fiancé walked out, slamming the door. Daniel's boss said they would be having a very serious conversation on Monday. I grabbed my purse, looked at the two of them, and said, "You deserve each other. Good luck with that." And I walked out of my own house, leaving all that chaos behind. Today, 6 months later, I'm divorced. I kept the house, half of everything, and my dignity intact. Daniel lost the promotion. Actually, he was demoted because his behavior was considered inappropriate and unethical. Katerina, her fiancé, broke up with her that same night. She tried to explain herself, but he didn't even want to listen. And the funniest part? Daniel and Katerina broke up too. 2 months after the scandal, they fought and never spoke again. Turns out, once the adrenaline of cheating was gone, they realized they had nothing in common. How ironic, right? I learned a lot from this chaos. I learned that not everyone we love deserves our trust. I learned that revenge, when carefully planned, can be far more satisfying than an emotional explosion. And I learned that I am much stronger than I ever imagined. Life surprises us. Sometimes for the worse, but sometimes for the better. Because after all of this, I found myself again. I went back to school, got promoted at work, made new friends, and today I'm much happier than I ever was in that fake marriage. And when betrayal comes from where we least expect it, we learn to trust ourselves first. If you want to see more stories like this, the next video will surprise you even more.